Hi, and welcome back to Live at FDIC. This podcast is brought to you by Firehouse Subs. They are the sponsor of the Firehouse Subs studio. The firefighter-founded hot sub chain with a passion for hearty and flavorful food, heartfelt service, and public safety. If you're ready for your next mission, Firehouse Subs is now offering firefighters the opportunity to continue serving after service now as restaurant owners. So learn more at www.firehousesubsfranchising.com. My name is Chris McClune, and I'll be your host. My guest today on this first day of FDIC is Kevin Thompson. He is with TrellisWare. We're going to be talking about two-way radios. We're also going to be talking about some waveforms today. And when we're talking about radios today, a big part of that is interoperability, which is something we're going to be getting into. You know, gone are the days when you just had a lapel mic, keyed it up. It was going like on 154, 130, or some high band frequency. Those days are gone.
Absolutely.
These are some very smart devices now. And I guess you could almost say, now this is like a layman's kind of thing, but you could almost say that the air that they travel is over, that the signals travel over, is pretty smart as well. So to get us started, Kevin, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
How do the TrellisWare radio lineup and TSM waveform support public safety agencies, especially fire departments? And when I ask that, I almost think we need sort of a definition of what the TSM waveform is before we even get into all the benefits.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, thanks for having us. Great question. So TrellisWare, when we initially started back in 2000, we started as a software waveform company. And you know, the idea was to have an over-the-air interoperable waveform that could basically bring together multiple manufacturer radios into one ecosystem without having wires in the way, right? Try to simplify some things. The waveform, as it started and is today, is a capable solution that provides not only audio on this waveform, encrypted waveform, but it provides data, and it provides location services, or PLI, position location, for any of the radios that are actually out there running within the network. So we provide a very high bandwidth, high throughput capable solution so that firefighters or other law enforcement, DoD markets can share video, can share other data needs for files, etc., all across a wireless capable system, making it just a little bit easier for everybody in the field as they come together with radios.
So the company has released a new radio.
It has.
And it's called the TW Shadow 750,
Yes.
Correct? So I guess a couple of things. Could you talk to me about some of the features of that radio, but also what was the focus of that radio?
So, you know, another great question. So when we sat down as a team to discuss the 750, a lot of our radios were very military spec design. They're a great Lego in many ways. You can take our radios and you can put together parts and pieces to build what you want at the end user perspective. Sometimes it's a little complex for law enforcement agencies, firefighters that are moving out very quickly and need to get on scene. So we sat down and said, how can we really make an easy button? So that was the focus, the easy button for law enforcement and other customers of that nature. So we created a radio that had all of these traditional land mobile radio features in it. So a speaker and a microphone, Wi-Fi built in, Bluetooth capabilities built in, GPS built into the radio. So that when the customer picked it up and turned it on, it was that simple. You didn't have to find headsets, or you didn't have to find other battery packs or other things to make the radio work. So that was our initial focus on why we needed to create this, to come into this market to help firefighters, law enforcement, or other EMS services to be able to utilize the TSM waveform or other capabilities that we produce.
And that is really, you know, I mean, as firefighters, I mean, that's what we're thinking. We want that thing to work as soon as we turn it on. We don't want any questions, you know, I mean, you know, the whole back end of it, you know, a lot of us want to know about it, but the main thing is that it works when we turn it on.
Exactly. The voice is the most critical point, right? So without voice, the mission isn't successful. So that the whole goal, obviously, with all of our stuff is to have the best capable voice solution on the market, which is what we produce. And like you said, all the other things on the back, as long as it's programmed to support it and it works, that's what's important also. But it needs to be able on channel 1, and you're good to go.
How do you feel that that is sort of changing things on the public safety agency level? Like, how is it changing the game?
So it's changing the game in many ways. It's instead of having just a P25 radio, and I don't want to say anything negative about P25 because it's not the case, but having just a P25 radio that is limited in its capabilities for data, this really opens the door. It also provides a capability where the customer, depending upon how they're deploying or how they're operating in different environments, they can change things by themselves on the fly. So programming is very easy with a radio like this, and it gives you a large capability of frequency that the radio runs on also. So instead of just limiting the radio to, let's say 700 or 800 megahertz, right? You can operate a radio like these, like the 750 or others, in a range of 225 megahertz up to 2600 megahertz. Now, again, there's some limitations based upon some legalities to that, but it gives the capability there in the radio for the programming to be done. That gives the flexibility to the operator in the field.
You mentioned firefighter location or location of whoever's carrying the radio. What is some of the other data? You mentioned data a number of times, and it's funny. This is my third one of these today podcast, and everything that I've talked about today has revolved around data in some way. And so, what is the data that you're collecting beyond what you mentioned, and where is it going?
So collecting data, I guess has a couple definitions. One, we really don't collect data. So we're not collecting end user information on the radio, storing anything of that nature. But what we are, let's say, collecting and sharing really has to come down to the position location information. So all of that location from the radio is then brought into the network, it's shared across all other devices, and then it's displayed within some sort of common operation picture. As we're seeing today, and I'm sure that you guys have heard in the field, TAC or ATAC, however it wants to be described, has become a much more usable solution for firefighters and law enforcement in general, right? So we see now all of our radios with our plugins being used that way to where all the data is collected in there. It could be shown on a map. You can see the location of all the radios in real time. You can see the signal strength of the radios. And it provides a lot of valuable data to the end user. The other things that we're doing within that, like I said, with the data is being able to allow the user to share whatever they need. It's just an open network to them. So if they want to share a file, if they want to share video, if it's helmet cameras or chest cameras or anything other than a static image, drone integration, our network is allowed to or capable of providing all of that video from a drone into the network. So a firefighter can see the aerial view ahead of time if they want to before they even get on site through the network. Okay. So there's lots of things that we do with the data capabilities beyond just the PLI side.
It's funny you bring up the drones, and when you were talking about the TAC, I automatically think of wildland for that. But my own department just responded to recently back in February. We had a fire in an industrial facility, and we used drones much in the way you were just talking. In fact, we had them dispatched. I mean, there wasn't even a truck on location yet, but this was like the big one, for all of us. It was a major industrial facility and fire through the roof when we got there. But the drones, but it was unified command. Everything you've just been talking about are kind of not necessarily challenges because we knew how to handle them. But when you're thinking about all the different places you're talking, all the different people you're talking to who may be on disparate networks and things like that. I mean, that's the kind of thing that comes to mind where that's a natural application. And like I said, the wildland aspect as well.
Yeah, the wildland, we see a lot of that with customers if it's the National Guard to some other state agencies that respond. So the radios are used quite a bit for that purpose. The urban side of it, there's lots of ways also that the radio systems are, being that they're such a unique capability, are used by different agencies. NYPD is a great example with their unmanned program, where they'll utilize our radios down for tunnel operation, where they have that kind of gap with LTE or P25 down in the subway infrastructure. We can actually set up another network on the fly for them to go down and utilize that straight down into there, so they get that more FPV outside the tunnel before they go in. Okay. So lots of ways it's used for that.
So there's a couple products that you have. One's called TW Connect. That's for Android devices. The other is a TAC plugin.
That's correct.
And those are, kind of helps agencies manage, these private networks that are set up. When we're talking about a TrellisWare network or TrellisWare radios, how do both of these benefit users of the radios and the networks?
Well, the one thing that we do is we build quite a few different tools for the radios. So we have these great radios, and we have the waveforms, of course, but you still need a way to manage them, you need a way to program them, and to work with the network that you own. So we build a suite of tools that are used to either set up the radios, manage the radios in the network. And then with TW Connect, it's a unique application that we produced about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, that allows you to install this application on your Android device. Could be a tablet or a phone. And then it allows you to actually do all your voice through the mobile unit and put the radio away. So you don't have to touch the radio. It can still be on the body, but it doesn't need to be forefront and center on the person, whereas the EUD can be there now doing that communication. So it's more like a push-to-talk application. On the TAC plugin, a little bit different. It is a plugin meant to be used with TAC so that you can see what's going on with the network. You can get those dots on the map. You can get any of the signal strength from the radios that are talking to each other, and then still do some communication configuration changes from that application. So they're two different things, but very helpful for the end user in the end to give you complete usability of the network.
We have talked about a lot of things that may not, outside of the radio, may not seem necessarily tangible to a firefighter listening or watching, but at FDIC this year, you're going to be participating in the Next Gen Fire Tech
Correct.
Over in the Lucas Oil experience. So, what are some things that that firefighters are going to get an opportunity to see or to learn about when they come out to see that?
So when they come out on Wednesday to see us, they're going to get quite a bit of an experience. They're going to see our entire radio lineup, first of all, which they can put their hands on. They can see how the radios work, understand exactly what this MAN-A radio is. They're also going to be able to play with any of the tools that we manufacture real time, so they can configure the network, they can change channel, they can do all the programming, and see just how easy we've set this up for an agency. They're also going to see the ATAC configuration tool and the plug-in operational. So they'll see video coming through the network into ATAC. They're going to see drone video coming in from Skydio, the partner of ours, and some other unique tools that we're bringing to the event so they can see all these things running live. So they're going to witness a lot of this real time. And as we like to tell all of our potential customers, proof is in the pudding. When you see the network operation, how easy it is, then you really understand why TrellisWare is the leader in this type of MAN-A solution radio.
Okay. So if there was one takeaway, either from this podcast or from your presence at the Lucas Oil experience this week for firefighters, what would that takeaway be? Would it be the simplicity, like, hey, this is actually not as difficult as you might think to set up, or is there something else you'd like them to walk away with?
Well, I think the simplicity they're certainly going to see right off the bat, but I think the bigger takeaway is going to be that there's options out there. You don't have to just rely on the traditional method of land mobile radios and just having voice communications. There's other capabilities out there like TrellisWare and others that are here that provide even greater capability so that you can get more situational awareness when you need it. And it's actually very simplistic and it's very cost effective to deploy. So I think that's what they're going to learn in the end with the Lucas experience, is that companies like TrellisWare in particular have this great capability. We should be looking at it further and not just solely rely on what we're traditionally used to over the decades.
Whit, you just mentioned deployment, and we've talked about the ease of deployment. Talk to me about what it takes. So we just signed the contract, at the fire department. What is the next step toward deploying or implementing what we've talked about today? So
TrellisWare employs a great staff that once the contract is signed and we've now sent radios or the equipment out to the location, we have a team that winds up going out there also that does on-site training for the entire staff. Either train the trainer or train the whole staff, right? We want to make sure that your experience with TrellisWare, using the system year after year, is the best experience that you can have. So we'll go out, we'll train, we ensure that we're there to support you at all times, and then we get you up and running with the whole network. At that point, excuse me, we always tell the customer, we are there for you. We're there to make sure that your mission is successful. So as long as we've done our job, we know that you're going to be successful in the field in the end.
Perfect. My last question is, if anybody wants more information from TrellisWare or anything we've talked today, how can they reach you?
Pretty straightforward, www.TrellisWare.com, and we have a request information, and you can reach out to us at any point in time. During the show here this week, we'll be at the Lucas event over on Wednesday all day, so I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of the people that are watching this now.
All right, great. Well, Kevin, again, my thanks to you for sitting down with me
Thank you.
today. My thanks again also to Firehouse Subs for everything they've done for us this week at FDIC. So until the next podcast, have a good one and stay safe. Thanks again, Kevin.
Thank you.